would you stay till the morning light? Or would you follow me? Or would you let it be? If I leave tonight, we could do this right. We'll find the remedy. Or would you stay with me now till the morning light?
When you look in the mirror the first few times after losing your hair, you probably won't recognize the person looking back at you, but I promise that soon you're going to start recognizing yourself again. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Chats with Megs. It has been a minute since I have sat down and we have just had a chit chat, and I'm really glad to be doing today's video because it is one that is very near and dear to my heart. This video is actually inspired by a blog post that I recently published on my blog at www.megsbujalski.com, and it was basically me reflecting on what it was like being bald as a young adult. Being a woman and having had really long hair, losing my hair when I really had no other choice, it was really hard. And although I'm proud of how I handled it, there was obviously lots of heartbreak and lots of pain that came along with being bald as a young adult. And then there was also some funny things that I learned and some pros to being bald. And I was really reflecting on that the other day, which is what inspired that blog post and then inspired today's video. For those who are new here, my name is Megs and I lost my hair back in 2019 when I was 22 years old. Like most people who undergo treatment for cancer, I had no choice in the matter, and while doing chemotherapy, my hair ended up falling out. And then for those who are curious, this is about 2 years and a few-ish months of hair growth and a few haircuts. So yes, I did get a few haircuts in between, so this is not 2 straight years of hair growth, but yeah, I'd say 2 years and 3-4 months maybe of hair growth. I just look back at pictures and sometimes I think I can't even believe that I was bald because it feels like such a long time ago. But yeah, so this is my little reflection video on what it's really like to be bald as a young woman. For me, oddly enough, watching my hair fall out was actually a lot harder than making the decision to actually shave my head. The reason being is when my hair was falling out, it was like a constant reminder that something was wrong, and it was a constant reminder that I was losing my hair. I literally looked like a shedding machine. I think from the day that I first noticed my hair falling out, which was exactly 2 weeks to the day that I began my first treatment, until when I decided to shave my head, which was I think 6 days after the first day I noticed that it fell. It was ridiculous. At first it was little clumps, but then those who have lost their hair know it's just non-stop. I was shedding all over the place. It was all over the house. I was constantly vacuuming. It was all over my clothes, and I had really long blonde hair, so you couldn't miss it. It was everywhere, and it got to the point where I would carry a lint roller around with me because I would just be embarrassed that there would just be hair all over me. And I even remember this one time, I think it was a few days before I went to go actually get my hair shaved off, and I was going to the mall with my boyfriend, and it was a really windy day outside, and my hair was already pretty bad at that point, and I had it down, and I just literally stood in the gusts of wind, and I remember just pulling my hair out and letting the wind take it, and I was like, you know what, I'd rather let the wind take it now than me have to deal with it inside the mall. And it was just a funny story, but it's just sometimes I think of it and you're kind of as if that is what I had to deal with at the time. And then so when I finally decided that it was time to shave my head and to get rid of the hair, I was honestly relieved. I was relieved that I no longer had to watch my hair fall. I no longer had to just see hair everywhere. It was just a sense of relief that I was finally able to kind of let go of that, of the hair fall, and then just be able to move on. I knew that there was nothing I could do to save my hair, and I think for me that step of accepting that helped me when I did have to see myself bald for the first time, and when I did see myself with the buzz cut, because that just made me feel okay, I got the hard part over with, and it's just gonna be a few months of being bald, and then after that I'm going to have hair again. I didn't cry. I'm very, very surprised that I didn't cry. I actually did a whole vlog about it, so I'm gonna link it right up here or up here, wherever. But I did a whole vlog on the whole process of my hair falling out and then getting it shaved and all that, and my reaction to seeing myself bald for the first time. And so I didn't cry. and I was told that I had a cute shaped head. Like, I got that compliment a few times. I guess like I have a pretty small head, and I guess I don't know, when you don't have hair it looks cute. I don't know. Some people probably said it just to make me feel better, but let me know in the comments below if you ever got a compliment like that, because it's like the weirdest but probably funniest compliment I've ever gotten in my life. Hair is such a big part of who we are for everyone, but really for women, especially for those women who were so used to seeing long hair on themselves for their entire life. And that was me. I had long hair since like, I think middle school, and I was somebody who had really thin hair growing up. And so when I was in middle school and I had my own money to be able to invest in my own hair care, I really made it an effort to grow my hair, to be super healthy, to be thicker, and I just always wanted to have that long hair. And I think I finally got my goal hair, like my goals hair, right before I lost it. So I'm gonna put a picture right here. This picture was taken when I was getting my university graduation photos taken, and that was the proudest I had ever been of my hair, because it was exactly what I had been like working for and growing and putting all this money into for so long, only to lose it a few short weeks later. But that's okay, that's life. We move on, and I'm gonna have that hair again soon. I knew that it would be really hard for me emotionally. I knew that I did put a brave face on when I got it shaved, and for me, honestly, that was not the hardest part. The hardest part came after, when the wig shopping and all the whole chemo and everything was kind of settled down, and I really just saw myself in the mirror. And that's when the emotions really hit me. I feel like for me, it was a very up and down thing. It was some weeks I was like, you know what, this is fine. Like, there's lots of pros to being bald, whatever, it's fine. But then some days I looked in the mirror and I would just cry, because this wasn't who I was. This wasn't me. This wasn't Megs. This wasn't the person that I was on the inside that was showing on the outside. Another hard thing for me was that it was the first real sign that something was wrong. My tumor was inside my chest. I couldn't see it. There was nothing physically showing that I was sick. And then when I lost my hair, it was like the first real sign that something was wrong. And I think that's when my diagnosis really did hit me, is when I saw myself without hair for the first time, because it was like, this is all of a sudden becoming real, because when I look, I can see that something is wrong, something's different. And then I went through this phase of being so jealous and just being so sad whenever I would see girls on Instagram or girls I knew with their long, beautiful hair. And I remember I'd feel so jealous and upset that they don't even realize what they have. And the truth is, neither did I. When I had my long hair, even though I always wanted it to be longer, I always wanted it to be thicker, I truly never realized what I had, because at the time I didn't know what it was like to be without it. And I would always just be so jealous of those girls, because I was bald and I was super self-conscious, and I'd have to wear an uncomfortable wig whenever I went out in public, and it still didn't feel like me when I wore that wig. Meanwhile, there was all these girls that had beautiful long hair, and they didn't even ever have to go through the pain of losing it. And I remember for me, that was a big feeling that I had to overcome. But you know what? I realized that that was my motivation, that I was going to put in a lot of effort to growing my hair back. And that's why I did. That's why I did a lot of research. I did a lot of looking into it and trying different products and trying different things, because that's something that I wanted back. And I think I'm slowly getting there. So why was it so hard to be bald as a young woman? Well, from the obvious, obviously you look a lot different. The person that you see in the mirror, you don't recognize. The person that you want to be, that you were before you got sick, feels like they're no longer there, because you look completely different. And unfortunately, people do see you differently. That is a huge part of the reason why I would wear a wig and I would wear makeup out in public, because when I did, I didn't look sick and people wouldn't treat me like I was sick. But there's this like misconception, but there's just this, not even a stigma, like I don't know what the word is, but when you see a woman who's bald out in public, most of the time we assume that there is something wrong, or that she is less than, or that she must be going through something, because seeing women bald in public is not seen as really a normal thing. Whereas if you see a man in public and they're bald, chances are you're probably not going to question why they're bald. You probably won't even think twice about it. And obviously I understand that more women have longer hair and stuff like that. I get that that's a whole thing in itself, but I think that's what makes losing your hair, especially as a young adult, but as a woman, really, really hard because people see you so differently, and it's almost like there has to be something wrong and abnormal if you have short hair. And I think that's what I was like, not embarrassed, I don't want to say embarrassed, but that's what made me really self-conscious of not wearing a wig out in public and just going in a hat or just being bald. It was super hard for me at first, and I overcame that eventually, but that did take a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of preparation internally for me to be able to be brave enough to do that. Now looking back, I know that cancer survivors and thrivers are some of the most badass and strongest people out in the world, and I completely have a different mindset on that right now. And when I see someone in public without a wig, I'm like, good for you. Like, that's amazing, and that is a strength that like I wish I had at the time. And like I said, it was waves. Some days I would totally go out with a ball cap on and I wouldn't even care if people looked, but some days I would just feel super self-conscious and I'd wear a wig because I didn't want those looks and those stares. And I think when you're in it in the moment, it's much different than looking at it now or looking at it as if like if you never went through it and saying, oh yeah, like if that were me, I wouldn't wear a wig. But that's what I thought too. I thought, oh yeah, when I lose my hair, as soon as I have like a little bit of hair, but the wig's gone. That wasn't the case. And so cancer survivors and thrivers are some of the most badass and amazing people out there. And whether you choose to wear a wig or not is completely up to you. Everyone has their reasons. And like I said, like some days it was up and down for me, but it was hard at the time. And I think a huge part of it was because the way society portrays women. I think that's why a lot of women struggle with it, is because there has to be either something wrong or something going on, because it's not very common that, you know, a woman is bald or has short hair out in public. For me, for a long time, it was easier to be around strangers without a wig on than it was to be around people that I knew, just because I knew that strangers either probably wouldn't care or would just be like, okay, cool, whatever, look away and keep on going on with their day. Whereas people that knew me, they would look, they would stare, sometimes they'd ask questions. And so I feel like that for me was almost harder than being around people that were strangers to me who didn't know me. Now in true Megs fashion, let's put a positive twist on this video. And what are the positives that I found from being bald? The first one being your shower time is cut drastically, like in half, if not even less than half. You can procrastinate for so much longer, and then you can go and have a really quick shower. Second one is you never have to worry about getting your hair wet. You can just fully submerge yourself in the shower and enjoy it. Third is you save a ton of money on conditioners and other hair products. You don't have to buy hair products for a few months, and some hair products are pretty expensive, so you get to save some money. Next is you don't really deal with bedhead until your hair starts going back. You don't have to deal with bedhead. Then you also find all the like different weird moles and stuff you have on your head. Maybe that's not a positive, but I bet some of you don't realize that we actually have a lot of random moles and things on our scalp. And last one is once your hair does start growing back, you get to experience every single stage of hair growth. Now this is not all positive because some of those stages are super awkward and weird, but hey, not everyone can say that they've had every single hairstyle out there. Okay, now here are some interesting things that I learned while being bald. First one is sweating. You don't realize how much your hair absorbs your sweat. When you don't have hair, when you sweat, it literally drips from your scalp all the way into your face. You get sweat in your eyeballs, you get sweat dripping down your face, you get sweat dripping down your neck. It's crazy and it's very uncomfortable. Literally, I remember because I was bald during the summer, it would just literally be like in my eyes, and I would always have to like catch it before it gets to my eyes because I didn't have eyebrows really either to stop it, and it burns when it gets into your eyes. Next, it's tricky to figure out where to stop your foundation because, I mean, really, like, I think the rule of thumb is it's like 4 fingers or something is where your forehead is, but you don't really have a hairline to stop you with your foundation. So it's like, do you go further? Do you stop sooner? And then it's like you also have to blend it so it doesn't look weird. So that was a funny experience on its own where you got to figure out where exactly to stop your foundation. Next is your scalp is extra sensitive, which is something you don't really realize. But for me, I slept in a beanie most of the time, even though it was summer, because I was just always cold. My poor little head was always cold. And then the same thing goes with sunburns. You really have to protect your scalp because, like your skin, scalp is skin, and it's skin that's probably never seen sunlight before, right? Because it's always been covered by hair, so you can also get a sunburn, and that's no fun. So you can either choose to put sunscreen on your scalp or wear a hat. So all in all, that's my little reflection on what it was like for me being bald as a young woman. Obviously, it's really different now looking back at it, having experienced it, and it was a lot different for me at the time when I was experiencing it. And a lot of people, I'm sure, who have lost their hair will be able to relate in this video, whether it be the positives, the negatives, or the random interesting facts. But for anyone who's ever wondered what it's like being a bald young woman, that is what it was like. So thanks so much for tuning in to today's Chats with Megs. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps to support me and my channel. Give me a follow on Instagram over here, and I will tag the blog post below if you would like to read the blog post. But for now, that is all. So know yourself, know your body, and until next time.